Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in for a second and let you know a little bit about today's live stream sponsor, DNA Funded. DNA Funded has very generous profit sharing up to 90% and 3 different unique challenge types. For those looking to get funded, they also have speedy payouts, unlimited trading days on the first and second phase of their challenges, a very wide list of different things you can trade with over 800 different assets tradable, and maybe the most important component, a very experienced team behind the whole operation. So if you're interested in learning more about DNA Funded, click the link, check it out, see if it's right for you, and make sure to do your own due diligence to see if what they have to offer fits your trading style. For 20% off, you can use code A1T20. Again, that will be 20% off any of their challenges you'd like to check out. Thank you again to DNA Funded for sponsoring today's live stream. Now back to the show. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another Friday live stream. I hope you're doing well. I hope you are getting ready for the weekend like I am, and hope you had a decent trading week. It's been kind of a crazy time the last few weeks, especially if you're somebody who watches metals. We finally got some movement, right? Metals have been moving and grooving here. Dollar index has been all over the place. I guess actually I take that back. The dollar index has kind of been a mess. It's been very choppy, just showing how strong metals are to still be trending this clean, even though the dollar is a chop session, right? Really, really crazy. What's up, Abdul? Super thankful to you and your A1 team for allowing me to grab the VIP Discord at 45% off. Yeah, I appreciate it. You look like you're like I paid you to say this, Abdul, but thank you very much for becoming a member and hanging out with us there. We've got 196 people who've joined up so far. I'll give it a few minutes here before the crowd really joins. It's a Friday. Let's take a look, see what's moving here this morning. We've got SP500 pretty much flat, not a lot of movement there, although yesterday was a really good day for stocks. Stocks pushed higher here. Not going to lie, a little bit frustrated by the upside moves in stocks. I think that they're just a little bit concerning at these levels personally. I'm not short, but I'm also not super long either. Like I have a good bit of sort of hedges in the market. So I'd prefer a downside move to buy stuff that I like stocks and stuff. But we'll see. Again, I'm more focused on other things anyways, specifically the indices and the commodities world, like silver. I don't know if you guys saw this. Silver exploded overnight yet again. It's almost like not surprising. It's like weird when you start getting used to, hey, silver's up another 1%. Like it's a great problem to have, obviously, but this thing just keeps ripping higher here, breaking through consolidation. I think that in terms of silver, if price were to dip back into this area, I think this is generally a buy, in my personal opinion, not financial advice. But my thought when it comes to the metals is they are buys on dips. There's no need to short these things. They look very, very strong. And if you were to get a sell or a pullback in the price of gold off the daily chart, 35.25 looks really attractive to me as a possible area to get long. So I'm going to watch gold. I also like the idea of a deeper pullback. If you get 34.25, both of these would be areas where I'd be looking for some pullback buys. Silver, gold, and oil. Fallout says in the chat. Yeah, look at oil this morning. Oil had a run up here. I think there was some UK sanctions on Russia or something, right? What's up, Belen? Good to see you this morning. Hey, Nick, waiting to move my stop loss on silver and Bitcoin and waiting for a pullback for gold. Have a good day, my friend. You too. And I hope everybody has a nice weekend too. Spend some time with your family, with your friends. I mentioned briefly in Discord this morning that this was a pretty heavy week in America. If you're keeping up with any of the political drama, there was a lot of it this week. And, it's one of those things. Somebody asked me a question. They said, how much of, what's going on in the political landscape impacts your trading? And while that stuff, I don't regard like I think political stuff is very important to, it's ultimately humans trying to find the best way to govern themselves and to advance society. I get it. It's important, but it's really easy to let political biases and obsession over what's going on in the world actually paint a really dangerous picture for your trading. So be very careful with news headlines. And it's very it's very dreary out there. Politics is the problem with trying to obsess over it is it's very dreary, and if you let it impact your trading, it can do so in a really negative way. I can't tell you, man, how many people this year I have seen make the mistake of whether they like or dislike a political candidate, say that, the market's going to crash because of this person, or the market's going to go to the heavens because of this person, as if it is really that simple. It's simply, there's so many components to what causes markets to move the way they do. So I just warn that you have to be really careful with that stuff. I know that it can feel really loud on social media, what's going on in the political world. But as a trader, which is what we're here to do on this channel, you sort of do have to kind of put that to the side. Not to say that it's not important or that it impacts you, but it's a dangerous trap that a lot of traders fall into, is letting their their political biases truly impact their chart. I mean, for example, the S&P 500, when it was crashing, a lot of people thought, hey, uh, the current administration is going to send us into no end, and people sold it like crazy. And then we had just this remarkable recovery move. Very rare to see this level of strength after a sell-off like that. Maybe not so rare in recent years. It's been the norm, is like you get these V-shaped recoveries, but over long stretches of time, usually you don't get, 25% down followed by, 50% up, right? It is kind of rare to get those circumstances. So I just caution people from, making the same mistake twice. Not a lot of people now are like, hey, we're going into the stratosphere. It can only go up from here. And so I just caution, don't let if you have a reason to be bullish or bearish that is based on macro fundamentals or price action, trend, or sentiment analysis, like those things, that's what we do on this channel. But to me, it's amazing how many times I see people who say, like, my bias for why the market's going to go up is because I like Trump, or the reason I think it's going to crash is because I dislike Trump. And that's not a strategy. That is going to get you into a lot of trouble. I can tell you that right now. Don't trade your bias, trade the data. That was a little bit of a rant that I did in the Discord this morning to members, because I think it's really important that we stay on the same page with that. We cannot be trading our biases and how we're feeling based on what's happening in the White House. Like that's silly. Again, it doesn't mean it's not important or that you can't have opinions on those things. Just don't let that impact your trading. All right, so let's talk about some setups. Dollar index, still very choppy. I do still have a bias to the downside on the dollar index. I think you have some challenging stuff happening though. And in fact, where I'd actually like to start this morning is take a look at yields. We're looking at the UK government bond yields, aka gilts, right? GILTS, government bonds in the UK. Kind of interesting here. We have a circumstance, to say the least, when it comes to the British pound. In the UK, if we go through some things here, let's look at, for example, give me just a second. Let's take a look at the UK economic heat map. We have some tricky dynamics to discuss. Oh, by the way, we just got GDP numbers out of the UK this morning. I did not realize that we got that. So they came in as expected, 0% growth, pretty remarkable. GDP growth month over month came in September 12th today, 0% compared to forecast of 0%. So not a big surprise there. But what I want to talk about is that you have 0% growth in the economy there, while you still have 3.8% inflation. So this is lower growth in the States and higher inflation than the States. The tricky component here is that signals not great for the UK economy. So you might say, okay, well, with inflation that high, the central bank, the Bank of England, should hike rates or keep rates high, right, to combat that inflation. But no, like most central banks, they are aiming to cut interest rates. Why? Well, because growth is not there. And so the central bank, the Bank of England, is saying, hey, we should probably cut rates to try and spur the economy, get things going, right? If you lower borrowing rates, it gets people out spending money, buying cars, buying homes, frees up people who are straddled with debt a little bit. So that's the strategy. But here's the challenge, and this is a dire circumstance for the UK, which has been just been the absolute pinnacle of like a red flag economy. In my personal opinion, you have a circumstance in which you have high inflation, high national debt, low productivity, declining birth rates. I mean, longer term, there's some trouble out there. And I don't want to sound like an alarmist or like a doomsdayer by any means, but yields, the 10-year government bond yield in the UK is at 4.67%. Why is it not coming down if they want to cut rates? Well, it's because people who are thinking, hey, should I lend money to the UK government? Do you want to lend money to an economy that's not growing, that's, significantly in debt, doesn't have any growth, and or nothing significant to speak of, and has high inflation? Do you want to get paid in British pounds when there's high inflation and low growth? Ask yourself that. Would you lend money to the UK government if that's their economic outlook, is raising debt, slowing growth? The answer is no, right? The answer is no, you wouldn't want to lend to that person unless they were willing to pay you pretty good in terms of interest. That's what the government bond yields show you. Now, this is important. Trust me, this is important to everything. It's not just the UK. Take a look across the board. Yes, the Fed is cutting interest rates, but long-term national debt, yes, the national debt is high in the US. Inflation is still expected to be sticky for not just today and tomorrow, but for years into the future. At least that's what the bond market's kind of telling you. The 10-year in the US still demands 4% to lend money to the US government, right? Bond investors say, we're not buying your debt unless you pay us 4%. You can keep going down the list. You have Japan. Take a look at Japan. It's still much lower at 1.6%. But these are important things to study. Europe, 2.7%. What this is telling you is that the bond market sort of senses that a lot of these countries have high debt and inflation is not going anywhere because they're going to struggle to pay back that debt. How are they going to pay that debt back? They're going to print more money. You see what I'm saying? This is where I think that my opinion is that you're not going to see interest rates collapse back down to zero like you've seen in the last decade and a half, unless you get disaster in the economies of the world, which I'm not necessarily calling for, but this is concerning, right? So you think about this and maybe you see where I'm going with this. National debt concerns, longer term inflation concerns. What do you buy? Do you buy national debt? Do you lend money to national governments? Or do you buy gold? Gold is the ancient protector of wealth, the ancient inflation hedge. Do you see where I think the bigger picture for gold is? The bigger picture for gold is that national debts globally are very high. Inflation expectations for years to come are still high. Governments are going to be printing money like crazy, as they've done for many years. That's the long story on gold and silver. That's part of the reason why I like them very much for the longer term. But that's why we study macro. Macro tells you the bigger picture. If you ignore it, you miss the bigger picture, right? Not to mention, in the shorter run, or medium term, I should say, gold and silver also look really good. If we take a look specifically at metals, Commodities and indices. Let's just leave out currencies for a second and add in our neutral readings. What we can see is that with sticky inflation and low growth, the place to be in, gold is getting a really strong reading. Silver is also getting a strong reading. Chinese stocks are also, they're moving really strong to the upside here recently. Platinum's getting a neutral reading. So there's a bunch of neutral readings, and most of the indices sort of remain in neutral camp. So this is where I know I've been repeating myself. And if you watch my show here each day, a lot of times I do tend to repeat myself because things shift in favor. Right now, gold and silver to me are still very much in favor. I'm still long silver. Trade's working out really, really well. The 4-hour chart, we broke through consolidation here. I'm probably going to trail my stops today further into profit. We had a really nice breakout overnight as silver continued to push to a fresh multi-year high, over $42 an ounce here as we speak, guys. That's huge. Do you realize that silver is up this year? Let's go year to date. Silver is up currently about 45% this year. This morning it was up almost 47%. That's crazy. Like silver has done really, really well. And I think it's people waking up to central banks are piling money into precious metals. They're concerned about the state of the, fiat currency system. And I know I sound like a doomsdayer, but I think it's real. Like I think you want to pay attention to the labor market data is weakening. Inflation is sticky. Let's not get this too complicated, right? Could you show the GDP figures for the US? Yeah, let's take a look at that, Lee. That's a good point. So the one prospect of why, the US still looks pretty strong is that we do still have projections for growth in the US, where we just don't have that in other places. I want to show you something pretty cool. Also, let me just fix this chart while I'm here. I'm just going to change something on the style of it. Just want to get rid of this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm looking at the US projections for GDP growth in the coming quarters. This quarter, we're expecting 3.3%. If you're following along with data really close, and you know this already because we've seen this in our latest, I believe it's the preliminary GDP numbers that came in for Q2 2025. Going out to Q3, we're expecting 1% growth, Q4, 2.1%, Q1 of next year, 1.8%, 1.1%. So growth for this quarter is still looking pretty good, but then we're expected to kind of have mild growth, not exceptional growth. Let's look at other places. What about the UK? The UK, we are talking about 0.3% growth for Q2, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.2. That's rough. That's not much growth, right? What about Europe? Europe, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.4, right? That is not a ton of growth either. What about Canada? Canada is expected to be negative for Q2, expected to be negative for Q3, Q4, 1%, 0.9% Q1 of 2026, Q2. So projections are just not very shiny for a lot of, the US being the better of that list, right? Australia. And by the way, we could also we've built this so that you can compare these things side by side. I just personally like to look at them one at a time. I think we also, we have India too. INR, that is India, right? What is INR? I want to make sure. INR, is that Indian rupee, I think. Yeah, okay, yeah. India is an interesting story in the sense that India does have growth. Keep an eye on that. India is an interesting longer term story, in my opinion, as well. I don't mind the idea of if you get, a sell-off in Indian stocks. I've long been a fan of India and their growth rates, right? I think that's a spot to personally longer term invest. Just my opinion, not financial advice. Here's China, right? China got some growth here as well. Their economy has been growing significantly for some time. So these are GDP projections, and they're important because they tell you what kind of the outlook for economic growth ultimately is longer term. So based on what we just looked at, most of the Western kind of nations are expecting feeble growth, like not great growth, low growth, high inflation, gold and silver. If you watch me frequently, you know I am not a perma bull necessarily in the short term on gold and silver, but I am definitely a perma bull long term, because I think they just clearly, it's a very simple concept. They print currency every single day. The value of currency devalues every single day. The value of gold and silver doesn't necessarily need to go up on the price every single day, but hypothetically, it does technically go up on purely a amount of currency basis versus the physical amount of gold and silver available in the world, right? That goes up technically every single day, because currency gets printed into existence every single day. Can I also use the EdgeFinder in other languages? Thanks for the question. I don't know if this is possible. It is a browser-based tool, and I have seen people using it, and it has had some language changes based on their own browser settings, but I cannot say for sure, and I don't want to lead you astray. So I believe that there are some, I've seen like there's a French guy that I know, he has a YouTube channel and he uses the EdgeFinder on it. And I've seen it. The EdgeFinder's like printed it in another language, which is just a testament to how cool Google products are. But the EdgeFinder is built in a Google-based studio, so it I think there are some capacity to do that, but I don't know how to control that. So I don't want to tell you that yes, it for sure can be. I saw Belent had a question about the stock box. Biogen and went into a long on several platforms and now making big highs and waiting to take profit. Stock box rules. Yeah, I liked BIIB. BIIB. I like healthcare stocks in general right now. Biogen did really well. Congrats on that. That's awesome. Yeah, on the top stocks, I believe BIIB is still up there. But yeah. I took a VIX call yesterday, another one. I added another call to my VIX position as of yesterday. Here's BIIB on the top stocks page. So nice on that one. I am really liking the idea of buying some Amazon if you get a market pullback. I already own Amazon, but wouldn't mind the idea of adding more to my position here. So we will see if you get some sort of pullback in the stock market, but I'm not holding my breath, that's for sure, because it has taken its sweet time to give us any sort of pullbacks for most of this year. Actually, it's been pretty much, you had the big sell-off, and if you played this well, then you did really, really well. This was an incredible rally from the lows. And I still own a lot of the stocks that I bought during, I bought early. I was early to the idea, but I bought all the way down, and I still hold a bunch of those stocks. That's where I say, I'm definitely not short the market, because every day that goes up, my account does well, right? So I'm net delta long. But I do think there's still a pullback coming. Just not going to try and time it. I think another thing is that you have some serious momentum in the metals right now too, that we just have not had in quite some time. If you remember when we were talking about gold over here, it was like every day I was repeating myself to no end, waiting for a breakout. It's got to decisively break once we get it. And then it finally broke, and you can see we didn't even get a pullback. Like, it just broke and it went and went and went and went and went. Fortunately, when that breakout happened, I was also watching silver because I liked the price action. I liked the trend in silver a lot more than I liked it in gold. And this is kind of a good testament to something that I wanted to briefly mention today, which is you had gold and silver both break out, right? But even though silver had already been going up, it still, when gold broke out, silver still outperformed to the upside, right? Just goes to show sometimes buying the winner is the place to be. And that's typically how I prefer to trade. I prefer to trade the chart that already has momentum rather than trying to, trade the laggard, if you will, right? So if silver and gold are your kind of two metals to watch, copper's also been interesting too, but copper got devastated due to some tariff news. But silver, pulled back to level support. I was able to get in. The chart looked much cleaner, and so the technicals really helped me to pick out this one in combination with the EdgeFinder score, getting a bullish reading at the time and has had a consistent bullish reading since. So next steps for silver for me are just to continue to manage the position that I have on. My plan today is to trail stops. I've been managing this trade since inception on the 4-hour chart. So I'm going to trail my stop below this structure here today. It's a little tricky because I didn't technically get, I typically do like to wait for some sort of oversold push to mark up a level of support, as you guys may know from my RSI trick that I like to do. But in this case, you've had such a significant breakout through these consolidation highs. You've got back into the 42s, which is awesome. And I'm just looking at trail stops. I'm probably going to put a stop below here. Which, by the way, if this thing did drop, that would give you an RSI oversold reading because I use the 4-period RSI. Nothing magic about the 4-period RSI. People have been asking me, Nick, what's the RSI period? It's not magic. It's just what I do to help visualize a support level is to wait for, this. So technically, if the chart shot lower, this thing is going oversold, right? So that's where I'm kind of marking up my support level. What are your thoughts about Google? I saw your comments yesterday. I'm sorry I missed it. Google, I own the shares. I'm frustrated by the shares because I also sold calls against my position. I think Google's my favorite stock. I've said that for a long time. It's my favorite stock by far. I own shares. I also sold calls against my shares, so I'm likely to get called away for a profit. And I'll be back on the sidelines waiting for pullbacks. So if we get pullbacks, then great. So love Google. I think it's a great long-term buy for me. I bought it in April. I've done really well with the stock and would like to buy it again if we do get a pullback. If we might not. I wouldn't buy it at these levels personally, but a pullback, sure. Gold and silver, kind of the same story. I'm not looking to buy gold at these levels, although I could make a case for how on the long term I think gold is cheap right now, which sounds like rage bait, but I genuinely mean that. In terms of the amount of currency that they've printed into existence relative to gold, I think gold is still cheap. By the way, gold getting back up into very bullish territory, +9 score on the EdgeFinder looks really good. By the way, EdgeFinder is on super sale right now. Today's the last day. I forgot to mention this. 45% off sale ends today on the EdgeFinder. If you do not have a copy of it and would like to get access, here is your chance to do so. We'll drop the link here in the chat if you want to speak with a member of our support staff who can get you set up with a copy of the tool. Send us a direct message using this link. Let them know you were watching the live stream, that you heard about the 45% off sale, and they will give you a huge discount on the tool. Best part about it, it's a one-time payment. So you pay once, you get access to the EdgeFinder. We've had people who've been using it for years now. No subscription payments. You just pay once, you get access. And this is a super big discount. So do not miss the chance to save several hundreds of dollars on your purchase of the EdgeFinder. Start trading with the data in your favor. You get access to all sorts of stuff. Of course, the economic stuff that we talk about frequently, inflation data, labor statistics, unemployment data, all that stuff, in tandem with, of course, the institutional tracking tools. So track what institutions are buying and selling through the commitment of traders data, or track market sentiment, which, by the way, is still pretty bearish on the AAII investor sentiment survey. So stock market participants still pretty bearish out there into this rally. Thought that was kind of worth mentioning. Also, of course, our top setups page, which is arguably the most popular feature of the tool. Essentially, it tracks all this data, which is great for visualizing it. But beyond just being a visualization software, what the EdgeFinder excels at is scanning all this data and generating ideas from it, right? It's one thing to have all the data to look at it. It's another thing to have all the data and have a system that screens it for you and ranks and files and scores it. That's the important thing that the EdgeFinder really does, I think, better than anything else. So like I said, don't miss your chance. 45% off. Link to chat with a support rep on our team is in the description but also in the chat as well. So there's your chance. All right, guys, I have to dip out here a little bit early. I believe we have James joining the stream. I've got a work call, boring stuff, right? No, but I have actually it's a fun work call, but I have a work call that I got to jump on. It's an A1 trading, secret society work call that you guys can't hear. So, with that said, you're in good hands, though. We've got Forex James taking over the stream. Thanks to him for being flexible and jumping on to help take things over. He'll be sharing some ideas and setups that he's watching in markets now. Stay tuned. Right after this quick break, we've got James taking over. Stay tuned. If you're someone in the United States looking for a Forex broker, it's been hard to find recently. There's been a lot of changes in the industry, so I wanted to take a moment to tell you guys about Oanda. Oanda is a US regulated brokerage that allows US traders to trade currency pairs like the euro dollar, the pound dollar, the dollar yen, Kiwi yen, all sorts of different currency pairs. So if you're interested in checking out Oanda, we're going to be dropping a link in the chat right now as we speak. They, again, are a huge brokerage in the United States that allows you to trade without the worry of whether or not your account is going to get shut down tomorrow from an offshore, unregulated, sketchy brokerage. They have been around for a long time, and I've used them myself for a number of years. So if you're looking to trade FX and you're in the US, this is the brokerage to check out, in my personal opinion. So take a look at it. We'll drop the link in the chat, like I mentioned, should also be in the description of this live stream. Do your due diligence and see if it's right for you. Now back to the show.
Happy Friday. How's everyone doing? Hope you're all well. It's good to see you. I think it's been a pretty good week. What do you think? I think we've had some pretty nice entries in markets. I think we've had good continuations. We're currently seeing some good pullbacks as well. So yeah, all around, I would say this week has been very nice, specifically for swing traders. I'm not sure about everyone else. So last time you guys saw me, I was in a Aussie US dollar position. We closed this one yesterday. I made about 3%. We took, for some reason, and this is, I'm just going to say this because I don't know if any of you guys use TradingView, but I've got these execution marks. And for some reason, the long positions don't get shown. So I can see my exits, but there's no entries for some reason. Anyway, if anyone knows why, let me know, because it's really frustrating. But let's continue. The exit was really, really good. I'm actually really happy with it. So this was helped massively by yesterday's news. So we had CPI ticked to the upside. We also had, was it jobless claims? I'm fairly sure it was jobless claims, wasn't it? That ticked up as well, which, is putting the Fed in a tricky position. We've got inflation rising. Labor market is dismal. We're not going to go into that right now, but it was a great trade. So I decided to take profits when I saw, or I had a gut feeling that, it was quite late in the day anyway. It was 5 p.m. And I was like, you know what? We've had a really large news move. Very likely we're going to see at least a slowdown in momentum, if not a correction. And we are seeing that correction now. So I'm looking to get back into the Aussie US dollar. I still really like it. The Australian dollar, in my opinion, is incredibly strong. It's probably one of the most brain dead long positions you could be in right now, as well as the Canadian dollar and the US dollar shorts as well. So leading on from that, I'm in a New Zealand US dollar long. I took that this morning. So I was looking for a break and retest on these previous highs. It's not working out so far, but we are currently testing the 50 moving average. That might provide some support. I think we're also at yeah, we're currently at a fib level as well, the 0.5 and the 0.618. So I might have had a premature entry, but I'm in the market, so we'll see how it goes. I'm still in my Nikkei, however you guys want me to say it. I'm still in this position. So we had an original take profit here at 44,700. However, we were coming up during, I think it was around here, roughly. I was like, you know what? This market's moving very, very quickly. The trend is very strong. I'm going to remove the take profit, or at least extend the take profit, and I'm going to scale in. So I've added another position, and I've got a hard take profit at 50,000. I'm not actually looking for 50,000. I think that's a little bit outrageous, at least for now anyway, but it's just to have there, you know? So I'm just going to let this trade run. I'm doing a trader Nick style and just trailing the stops. I don't really have a hard target in mind. It's just a let it go, see what happens type of position. And I entered a CAD yen short this morning. So CAD yen's been one I've been talking about for maybe the past week and a half, roughly. I missed, you know, I called it on my channel. I said, I made a video specifically about Canadian dollar. I said the CAD yen shorts, I really like the idea. I missed all of this. I missed my own idea. But I think maybe now this might be the time I want to be in. So we came up from obviously previous high to previous low. We're seeing a little bit of rejection here between the 618 and the 0.5 fib. We've seen a H4 candle reject the 250 moving average after having a flip, indicating we've got a trend or a bearish trend now. So overall, the technicals are very good. I really don't think the Canadian dollar has any steam to gain value. To be honest, the whole fundamentals behind the Canadian dollar are seriously struggling. And that's very evident on the EdgeFinder. Oh, I've lost the tab. Bear with me, guys. I've lost you as well. I don't know where you've disappeared. Here. I'll read the chat in a second, by the way. I see the messages, but let me get these thoughts out and then we'll have a chat. So, as you can see here, the Canadian dollar, what do we see? Well, very bearish. We've got pound CAD, New Zealand CAD, US dollar CAD, and the Australian dollar CAD, all getting bullish readings. Hence, we want to sell the Canadian dollar. So if we have a little bit of a deeper look on the economic surprise meter, we can also see the Canadian dollar is in a pretty tough place. It's pretty much down there with the US dollar as well, and the Swiss franc. So yeah, it was a pretty clear position. Obviously, I'm talking whilst I'm, you know, it's still an entry, so I'm hoping this doesn't make me look stupid, but I think it's a pretty clear position. Even if the actual trade is wrong and I get stopped out, I still like the backdrop for the trade, if that makes sense. I'm still watching the China 50, and actually, I might take a position pretty soon. I'm not sure. I mean, it's Friday. I'm probably not going to. I might wait till next week. Now, I've never traded the China 50. So there's a couple of different things I'm considering here, different opportunities. So there's one here. Obviously, we've got a retest of these highs. It's a very bread and butter break and retest. However, I'm not really liking the look of this candle here, this H4. I think we could do with a correction. So I'm also watching just below the 0.5 and the 0.618 fib levels. Then I'm also watching, can we see a correction down to the moving averages, sort of a small mean reversion. So as you can see, the chart's a mess. I've got a couple of different theories there. We'll see. Next week, like I said, I'm very unlikely to take a position today. So there's that. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers it. So I'll speed run through that. Let's have a look at the chat. Seeing the familiar faces. Slugmeister, good to see you. Agent Dark 64, good to see you. Bashi, OT, Lee, Ballout, Curtis, Othermain, OT. I think I already said OT, actually, I'm not sure. Anyway, hello everyone, it's good to see you all. Pepperstone on top. I do like Pepperstone, yeah. Say it however you want, James. Well, the chat traumatized me last time, Lee. Apparently I said it wrong. And I, you know, it's not that deep, is it? It's fine. Wait for a 200 EMA pullback on the H4. Yeah, I think that's probably what I will do, OT. I'm not desperate to get into the Chinese markets. Like I said, I've never traded it before, so I'm not overly eager. But anyway. So there's nothing I'm looking at in particular right now. I think it's more just a case of we are seeing pullbacks today, and we'll see really what happens next week. So as I said, I think the Aussie US dollar could be a great long position again. If we can just come a little bit lower between to the moving averages, that could be great. We could also be looking for, you know, a very, very standard fib pullback. That could also be an option that would then meet the 50 moving average. So I think the landscape's there. It's pretty good. Obviously, like I said, the Australian dollar's doing well. We've got hawkish RBA, we've got dovish Fed, poor labor market in the US. So again, it's a very, very clear trade. It's just a case of getting in. The Aussie yen, I think we could be on a path to be buyers at some point, but right now there's nothing to do there. And the Euro Australian, I really like this trade, but it's being a bit of a pain. So I've been in a position really where I'm just having to move the fib down every couple of hours to just meet the new low, because there is no, or there has not been a sustained pullback to a reasonable level. In my view, you know, we've not had a 50% retracement. There's been no retracement to a 200 moving average. There's been no retracement to any structure. So there isn't anything for me to do here. It is on the EdgeFinder, I'm fairly sure. Let me just double check. It is. So the EdgeFinder is giving it a score of -8. So again, the fundamental landscape is really supportive to be a seller. Technicals are very bearish. So there's not really much more to say about that. US dollar yen could be a short as well next week. If we can see some sort of continuation to the downside, I'm just a little bit hesitant on the dollar right now, because we do still have room to the upside to possibly come and correct the news move that we saw yesterday. And the dollar yen specifically does still have these highs that could get retested again. So I don't really want to be a seller just yet. We've also got pretty much horizontal moving averages indicating that there is no established trend. So yeah, as much as I would like to jump into a sell right now, I can't really justify it to myself, to be honest. That's pretty much it. Pound CAD also looks like a great long position, very bullish on the EdgeFinder, but again, there's technicals, just there's nothing to do there. The Aussie CAD, maybe. So the problem with Aussie CAD is the trend is too aggressive. It's like gold in terms of it's just not providing really much of a pullback, especially on higher timeframes like the H4. So it kind of puts me in a situation where I've got to use lower timeframes. So like the 15-minute, 30-minute in H1, which is okay. So again, I'm not going to take the trade today, maybe on Monday, but the opportunity I see right now is taking something like this. So the R&R is not great. You maybe get obviously if you're using the same target as me, a 1 to 1.3. Stop loss below 200, below the previous low here as well. So there is opportunities, but nothing overly solid just yet. What about this one? What's going on here? CAD Swiss. Yeah, kind of the same thing. So I really like CAD Swiss in a technical view as well. So what we've got is the 50% retracement on the fib, or the 50% fib level, is lining up almost perfect. In fact, it might even be perfect with this support level that I've got drawn up. So I would really like to see a retest here and then a continuation to the downside. That would give me a 50% retracement. It'd give me a 50 moving average pullback, and it would give me a retest on the previous support. So it would be, you know, a trifecta, if you will. It would be very, very strong on a technical basis, at least. Reza, hello. What's the fundamental story on CAD Swiss as of today? I'll be honest, it's not great. So the Swiss is weak. However, the CAD is even weaker in my way. Sorry, in my view. Nick explains way better. I'm sure he does. Yeah, I'm not an educator. You know, I've never set out to be really on streams and stuff. It kind of just happened. I do my best, but yeah, it's probably not as good as Nick. He's been doing it a lot longer than I have. Anyway, what were we saying? CAD Swiss, yes. So the fundamentals for both are weak. However, the CAD is in a significantly worse position. Even, you know, EdgeFinder is one layer, but if we even dig deeper, we've got the Bank of Canada that's looking very dovish. We've got a massive current account deficit within Canada. We've got poor exports. It's just really poor. So if we're taking that very, very weak foundations of the Canadian dollar, and we're looking at the Swiss, yes, the Swiss might not be in a great position, but it doesn't have, in my view, these massive cracks that are forming. And the Swiss is a very, very stable currency. Even if it is weak, it's stable. So we can see this on the EdgeFinder. We've got bearish seasonality. Retail are quite heavily long. COT is bearish. So we've got all of this data that is just lining up to be a very, very clean short position on CAD Swiss. But again, it's just a case of, can we get in? Mohammed's rude? No, it's all right. It's okay. It's all good. It's not a, I'm not sitting here trying to compete or to try and be a great teacher. I'm sitting here, I'm telling you my ideas, and that's it. You know, I come here, I really like being on these streams. You know, you guys are really cool. And, you know, if someone is better at explaining things, that's cool, you know, no problem. I closed 7% this week. You guys are doing a great job. Flex Byler, that is incredible, my friend. Well done. Retail long CAD Swiss gives me enough confidence. Exactly that, yeah. So what I would imagine, and this is completely just theory and you know, experience in the markets, but I would imagine retail have seen this big support and they've thought, oh my God, it's broken the low, or it's broken support. It's likely going to revert all the way all the way back up to these highs on the monthly. Maybe not that level, but you get what I'm saying. So it wouldn't be a surprise to me if we actually don't see anything above here and we just slam down. I really don't want that to happen, because obviously that wouldn't give me an entry. I would rather it come up then come down. But yeah, that heavy retail positioning generally is a bad sign for them. Hello, James. Are you regular here? I am regular here, Nico. Yes. I'm on 2 to 3 times a week normally. Sometimes I'm not on at all, but normally that's because I'm away or I'm traveling or something. But yeah, generally I'm here quite often. Rage bait worked. It's all right, Mohammed. It's Friday. Let's have a good one. Go into the weekend with good vibes. So as I get into Nat Gas, ball out. I'm not happy with Nat Gas, and it might be because I just don't trade it. I don't really know what's going on. However, I really want to see it come a little bit lower back into this trend line. So I've got a friend that runs a fund, and he is heavily involved in commodities, live cattle, copper, nat gas, those types of things. I don't know what you would call those. It's like agricultural commodities, I guess. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, he's planning to get long sort of October, November period. So I think, to be honest, I'm just going to follow him. He's a lot more knowledgeable than I am on these things. As I always say, I'm a bit like a stale bit of brown bread. You'll see me trading G7 currencies all day long, but when it gets out of that into like the Mexican peso, the ZAR, corn, those type, you know, outside my basket, I couldn't tell you anything about it. Also, I'm actually not sure how long I'm on today for, because I was meant to come on at 3. I came on half an hour early. I'm not sure if I'm on till 3:30 and I've got an hour slot, or if it's a normal 30-minute slot. A1 guys, could you just drop me a message on Discord and tell me if it's a normal 30-minute time, or if I'm on for an hour? Either way is fine. I don't mind, but it'd be good to know. You can barely see my screen. It should be okay, I think. Anyway, need to stop being racist and trade more exotics. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I've got another a friend actually that runs another fund in London, and I was talking to him. I went to meet him, I think last year, and I told him about a idea I had on, I think it might be Eurodollar. It was a very, bog standard what I put on YouTube, but I was talking to him about it. And he was like, he just said, I can't, this isn't an exact quote, but it's along the same lines. It's as close as I can remember it. He said, forget the trade, you will lose. And I was like, well, why? Why would that be? And he said, and this isn't my opinion, again, I'm just explaining what he said. He said, there's absolutely nothing you can do in the major currencies. All the money is made in exotics and emerging markets. And I was like, I kind of agree with him to an extent. I think obviously you can make money trading pretty much anything. So I don't agree with that. But if you can get into the side of the markets where you don't really see retail, like agricultural commodities, exotics, emerging markets, those types of things, I think you probably would see some success. And again, I'm not basing it off any actual information or knowledge or stats, but I think could be something in there. Can you drop your Discord? Just go to my YouTube channel. You'll see it there. 30 minutes. Okay. I'm on for 30 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. You've got me for another 12, 13 minutes or so. Rip Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I mean, regardless of political views and things, I watched that video. It popped up on Twitter, and I was just like, wow. Also, you know what? I was banned on WhatsApp today. I woke up, and my dad messaged me on WhatsApp, so I clicked on it. I'm banned. And I don't know why. I didn't even know you could get banned on WhatsApp. But for some reason, it's happened. And I don't do anything on there. I'm not doing anything dodgy. It's just my family chat, a couple of friends, and that's it. So I'm not sure what's happened there, but Mark Zuckerberg needs to sort himself out, or he's going to get a strongly worded letter from Forex James. Anyway, CAD Swiss is moving. Sorry, not CAD Swiss. CAD Yen is starting to move, which is nice. So I've got a target down here at 105. Very solid round number. There is a really nice daily support as well towards 105. It's slightly below. We could, in theory, come slightly higher and miss me by a couple of pips, but it's whatever. It's fine. We've also got the daily 200 moving average that's coming in right here. So we could see a nice rejection there and continuation lower. So I'm very optimistic. I do really like the position. So again, we'll see if it works out. And New Zealand US dollars pulling back to entry, and the JPN is doing nothing. Absolutely nothing today. It's just been sideways. But anyway, what I was actually saying about the Charlie Kirk thing was, I saw the video, and I mean, it doesn't, like, the imagery doesn't bother me, but it bothers me the fact that that is what people are doing, So there's no need. He was a man with a couple of opinions, as far as I'm aware. I don't think he's actually done anything bad. He might have said bad things and whatever, but again, it's just a man with an opinion. To go out and do something like that, I think, is abhorrent. There is no need to take someone's husband and father away like that. Again, if you disagree with him, that's completely fine. I'm not saying I do agree, but I just think, again, I'm hoping we can all sit here and agree that those types of things are probably not the best to do. Can I take a look at the Australian index? Do you mean the currency or the wait, hold on, let me get rid of these notes here. Not notes, these lines. I have crazy thoughts on it. I'm sure lots of people do. I know it was a very especially in America. I mean, in the UK, I'll be honest, I don't care in the political side of things, but I know that the right and the left are very separated in the US from what I've seen. The comments I've seen have been horrible. It's like, I'm not even going to repeat them because it's not a topic we need to discuss on the stream, but I think it's been very telling, the reaction. Let's say that. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. The dollar losing ground. I mean, it's been a heavy loser all week, really. Currently, top currency is the Swiss, followed by the yen, followed by the pound, followed by the Aussie dollar, yen, New Zealand dollar, and the Canadian dollar. So the Canadian dollar and the US dollar are following in tandem almost in terms of strength. Neither are managing to hold much ground. Okay, guys, let's chill. That was my fault. I shouldn't have gone into the political stuff. Let's move it back to trading and markets and things. I don't I don't want to come on here and um, cause any political separations or anything. Is Lee the Asian guy in Elite Traders Discord? We don't have an Asian guy in the Discord, do we? I'm not sure who he's referring to, Reza. Analyze the Indian index. Nifty 50. I do really like the name of the Nifty 50, to be fair. I think it's a pretty good name. Nifty 50. Anyway, I don't know what's going on in India. I could not tell you for the life of me what could be going on with the index, but from a technical view, I suppose we would be looking at these highs here. And if you were wanting to be a buyer, which I assume you would be, generally you do want to buy index funds, you would be, oops, hold on, I need the brush. I'd be looking for something like this, where we just pull back into the moving averages, create a higher low, oops, again, brush, create a higher low relative to the previous low, and then look for the break and retest here, and then continuation to the upside, keeping it all very, very straightforward. Oh, you're taking it a bit far now, OT. Iraqi index. Do they even have an index? Oh, yes, we do have news. Let me just see who's on after, because I'm leaving in 7 minutes. So it might be Kenzo, but he was meant to be on before me. Anyway, I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure I'll get a message or I'll get kicked off at some point by someone. I like AUD USD. Yes. Aussie US dollar. Yeah, I do like it. Oh, wait, hold on. Might have just missed my entry, but again, I'm not too interested in placing more trades today, but I think if we could get maybe this H4 candle to close in 6 minutes bullish, it could be another opportunity to be a buyer again. The Samone index? I don't even know what that is. You know, Oti, you're starting to sound like Ball Out when you asked me to look at crazy stuff like orange juice and live cattle. It's like, what do you want me to tell you about those markets? I don't know. I know orange juice is expensive these days. Should we buy some OJ? When is news? I want to shut it down before news. I hope you mean the trade, not the stream. Shutting the stream down, you're missing out. Okay, let me get the calendar up just so if I am going to cover news, at least I've got it ready. Actually, my position here on New Zealand US dollar could be in for a ride, so I'm going to keep that open. I'll open the market, the news, whatever, anyway. Forgot the words. Okay, so today we'll go US dollar. There we go. So yeah, just under 5 minutes, we've got Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. So just to explain this, if we get higher than forecast, currency is bullish, lower than forecast, currency is bearish, and that will have adverse or opposite effects on gold and the equities and indices markets. Bashi, have you made that? I don't know. The thing is, I don't know at this point. Am I being ignorant, or are you guys just telling me stuff that don't exist? Chapati. Oh wait, hold on, chapati. I actually read what you said. Okay, never mind. That made me look really stupid. Ignore that. That was a brain fart. Okay. So I'm just thinking, just bear with me for a second before we go any further. Like I said, I don't want to intrude on someone else's time, but I also don't know if the next guest will be covering the news with you. So I don't want to leave while news is coming out and then you get no news coverage. So I think it's best I just do it, and I'll have to eat into someone's time. I do apologize in advance. What about inflation expectations? Just for once, what do you mean, Naveen? Do you mean what I think the next inflation will be? Oh, okay. Okay. Hold on. So inflation. Let me open the EdgeFinder. Let's have a quick look at inflation before we have the news. Okay. So it turns out that I might have a little bit longer because we're not sure if the next guest is showing up. So what we'll do is we'll go over the news when it comes out. Then we'll go into and have a look at a little bit of inflation, and then I will probably leave you to it so I can call it a Friday and go to the pub. I'm joking. Probably won't be going to the pub today. Might order some food in and watch a film. I've been playing Split Fiction with my girlfriend actually the past few days. It's a Switch game. Actually, I don't know if it's on any other platforms. I don't know, but it's a really cool game. If you've got friends or a partner or something, I would suggest buying that game. It's pretty cool. Anyway, your trading setup explanation, please, just for once. Okay, so you mean you want me to explain the strategy or an individual trade? Sorry, Naveed, I'm just trying to understand exactly what you want so I can give you the proper answer that you're looking for. Yeah, Bashi, there's lots of indexes. There's lots of different things. Whether your broker will support it, though, is a different question. Tesla's been nice today. I've not paid any attention to Tesla. I don't really look at stocks on a day-to-day basis. I've got a stock portfolio, but it's more just a buy and hold. So I've got it set up so it buys every Monday. It puts a few $100s in, and then that's it. I don't really pay any attention to it. No SRS today. No, Reza, I've had a terrible trading week actually with that strategy. I had a really, really bad run. So I passed my phase one on Funded Next on Monday. I got an email Monday morning that I passed. So I got the phase two. All I've done, I haven't had a single winning trade on the breakout strategy this week. It's been absolutely terrible. So I've taken the past couple of days away. Just, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday were losing. So then Wednesday afternoon, I decreased risk. And on Thursday morning, both lost again. So I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother. I'll take the week away. I'll take the rest of the week off. Strategy. Okay, Naveen, I'll explain the strategy slightly after the news. Chris says he bought the EdgeFinder. Nice move, Chris. Congratulations. You're about to become a billionaire. So what the EdgeFinder does, you buy the EdgeFinder. Only if you use code ELITE, though, the markets will see, the algo will see that you've bought or sold, and it will move in that direction for you. EdgeFinder pays for itself. Not financial advice, and of course, satire. Okay, so consumer sentiment came out even worse than forecast. Who would have guessed? Who would have thought that? I mean, all the past data we've had, terrible news. So let's just have a quick look. No immediate reaction. We do have, hold on. So Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, Michigan Consumer Expectations Index took a hit as well. Excuse me. 1 year consumer inflation expectations, 4.8, pretty much on previous, no massive deal there. I don't really think anyone cares too much either. And the same here, slight increase. So yeah, nothing overly interesting, but it will be a negative for the dollar. So here we can see we have the US dollar, we've got the S&P, we've got euro dollar, and we've got gold. We've got a little bit of everything: currencies, index, and a commodity. So that should be quite nice for my New Zealand dollar trade. And in hindsight, I'm a little bit annoyed, not annoyed at myself, but yeah, in hindsight, could have just left this position, actually just scaled in. I did scale in already. I had 2 positions on this, but maybe could have added a third, but there you go. Taking profits before the weekend, I'm quite happy with that. CAD yen's not doing much, Nikkei's not doing much, and yeah, New Zealand US dollars coming back to entry, so that's fine. But yeah, really a hard time with the dollar, to be honest with you. I mean, it's corrected the move that we had on Friday, so the NFP candle here, and unemployment. We did see a correction eventually. However, it's just taken another hit. As soon as we corrected back up, we saw yesterday's news hit again, more negative news, slight comeback, and then again today, more negative news. So the dollar is just getting bullied at the minute. It's hit after hit after hit. I really think we're going to see 97 get hit at some point. When? I don't know. I would say I'd like to say by next week, but you know, it's hard to put, it's hard to put exact times on things like that. But yeah, I would expect 97 to be the next target the dollar's going to go to. False advertising, you can expect a lawsuit. Oh no. Does anyone want a copy of the EdgeFinder? I'm selling mine for however much I'm about to get sued for. Don't blame James. I've had to do the same thing at times, but you're okay. Yeah, it happens. Why wasn't there any reaction? It's not massive news, to be honest, trading experience. There are levels to news where you've got, NFP, CPI, press conferences, rate decisions that are all like seriously market moving. Then sometimes you get ones that are still important, sure, but not as significant. And that's kind of today. Today, yes, it was red folder news, but it wasn't enough to be, close your positions, move to break even, a big deal. It's more just, okay, we've got a bit of news today. What is it? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Okay, strategy, Naveen. Yes, I will tell you my strategy. So this isn't the best example, so I'll show you the one I took on the Aussie dollar. So what I do is start with higher time frames. It's a case of what is the economic landscape, first of all. That's always number one. It's what's the strongest currency, what's the weakest currency, and why. So then at least I've got then basically a tier list of, okay, this is, Australian dollar's number one, CAD US dollar at the bottom. It's kind of like the EdgeFinder, but in my brain. Does that make sense? So then it's a case of, okay, I've got the ideas. How can I execute on those? So the daily is holding this 200 moving average, indicating it is moving to the upside, although it's not, daily's a bit ugly. Weekly struggling, but again, it's had a slight move to the upside over the past, couple of weekly candles. And the monthly's not great. So, okay, I don't want to be in a super long-term position because the weekly and the monthly kind of against me a little bit. I will come into the weekly 200 moving average, and the daily is pretty much sideways until the past sort of 1 to 2 weeks. So I don't want to be in a massive trade or a super long trade. But I know I want to be a buyer. So then I go down to the approach here is the same on every time frame. So it works on the 15-minute, or I use it on the 15-minute, the 1 hour, 4 hour, doesn't matter. Same idea. So we look for a low to a high. In this case, it was right here. So very, very small. So I'm looking, we've got bullish trends. We've got 50 EMA and the 200 EMA in a bullish trend. So I'm like, okay, I do want to be a buyer. The fundamentals are there. The daily trend is almost there. It's not great, but there is a daily trend. And we've got the H1 trend there. So cool. Just need to wait for the pullback. So we've shown a little pullback here, come down to the 50% retracement level on the fib, closed bullish off there. Okay, I'm in the trade. So that's it. That is as far as it goes. I just use the trend, the fib. So I'm always looking for a 50% to 618. It could be anywhere in between these two levels. That's fine. And yeah, that's it. Smooth sailing. It's the same thing. You can see on CAD yen, the same thought process here. So moving averages, bearish. The overall trend on the H4 is bearish. Oh, sorry, that's the H1, but still the H4 is where I took it. Rejection off the moving averages. We've got relative, pretty strong downtrend here on the daily, weekly and monthly, same things. Price pulled into the 618 to the 0.5, It did break above, but it rejected the moving averages and closed with a big wick, closing back inside the fib. So I was like, you know what? There's clearly some sellers here. The technical setups are really strong. I like the fundamentals, so I'm going to jump in. And that's it. You don't need to be... I know my chart might look a little bit complicated, but it is not. There's just a couple of lines and a fib, and that's it. Trading doesn't need to be a super complicated thing. All you need to do is just get in at a good price. So let's say your idea, for example, on CAD yen is that it's really overvalued, the fundamentals are bearish, whatever it is. Great, you've got the idea. That's the main thing. I would say that's 90% of the trade done, is just understanding why the market's moving and where you expect it to move to relative to that information or due to that information. Then that last 10% is just clicking buy or sell. And obviously clicking buy or sell is, you've got to figure out how to do that in a way that is reasonable, but it's really simple. And excuse me, I know that there's a lot of things on social media, all sorts of different strategies using all sorts of different things. You've got footprints, you've got VWAPs, you've got order flow, SMC, ICT, you've got momentum, you've got the styles that Nick and I use with fibs and pullbacks and trends and economics. But it doesn't need to be any more complicated than buying and selling, really, and understanding why you think that. So rather than it being at a support and saying, I'm going to buy because it's a support, why would the market actually go up from that level? Does that make sense? I know maybe I over-explained that, but that hopefully sort of cleared up some questions. Naveen, target on what? If you want my targets, you're going to have to join my Discord. I'm sorry, but unless this is the one, then it's 105. You can see it on the screen. But yeah, that's the way I draw the line. I'm happy to sit here and give you all of the information I've got, but when it comes to actually taking trades, entries, stop losses and stuff, that's information I only share with people that pay me, to be quite frank, because that's my information that I worked to make and to find. Okay, I think that clears up everything. I don't think really there's much else to talk about. I know we said we'd go into inflation, but I've not really seen anyone ask about that. So if anyone does want inflation, then we can cover it. But like I said, I don't think there's another guest. There might be. Chandler's typing on Discord. So I'll just wait to see what he says. Okay, I am the last guest, so I'll give you a chance if there's any questions, whether it be inflation, whether it be the Fed rate decision rather than the 17th, whatever it is, let me know. If not, we can call it Friday. I'll leave you all to it, but I'll give you a moment. I don't know if you're typing, you might not be. Trading experience, I appreciate that. So what is footprint thingy? They started pushing that indicator this year. I'll be honest, Market Pulse, I have no idea. I've never used it. I've never really looked into it. So I could not give you it wouldn't be fair for me to say if it does work or it doesn't work or any insight really, because I've just never paid any attention to it. There's so much information out there. It must be hell for new traders to work. Yes, absolutely. I think the problem is, trading is a new language, really. This is what I really struggled with when I came into trading was, there was bullish and bearish. I understood that, bullish was up and bearish was down. Okay, I understood that after a while. And then I was introduced to hawkish and dovish. And I was like, that's two new animals that do different directions. Again, it's like, why can't we just use the same words? And then you got long and short and buy and sell. It's like, all these things that you got, obviously central banks, interest rates, inflation, and there's all sorts of words that you don't really hear or use in day-to-day life outside trading. So it's not just obviously the amount of information and learning what these things are. It's actually like figuring out what that word means, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a minefield. It's very, very difficult, but that's why when you get it, it can be a very nice paying job. Naveen, I don't add people on Discord. Please don't try to contact me on Discord. Just a fair warning for anyone else. I don't talk to people on Discord in DMs. One of my members got caught with this a while ago, a couple of months. He was scammed out of $20,000 thinking it was me. So I strictly will never add you. I'll never message you. Don't ever talk to me privately unless you're in my Discord or it's the Elite Traders official Instagram. or on the stream, of course, on my YouTube. Anyway, that's just a fair warning. Same thing with Discord, with Telegram, Curtis. I don't want anyone to be put in a situation like that, so I don't even bother trying to talk to people. No, that sounds horrible. I don't mean it. It's for your own benefit. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you to it. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. It's been fantastic talking to you all as always. It's been a great week. I hope you all enjoy your weekends, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Stay safe. Don't get margin called.
Thanks for watching today's show. Remember to subscribe if you're new and to turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next one. If you're looking for more free trading content, consider joining our Telegram channel, linked in the description down below, or find free courses, prop firm discounts, and broker sign-up perks on our website a1trading.com. That's all for today. We'll see you back tomorrow.